All right, welcome to this explainer. Let me paint a really familiar picture for you. You've just done it. You've finally achieved that massive goal you've been chasing for years. Maybe it's a huge promotion, a wildly successful launch, or a degree you've literally poured your soul into. You fully expected to feel this incredible, lasting surge of peace and accomplishment. But instead, as you sit there, you just feel this crushing, hollow exhaustion. You feel completely empty. Well, today we're going to unpack exactly why that happens and why achieving our biggest, most ambitious goals so often leaves us feeling completely depleted. It's a pretty haunting question, isn't it? What's next? You're sitting there in the quiet of your room, and instead of actually celebrating, that relentless little voice in your head is already demanding the next milestone. It is so incredibly easy to reach for the explanation that hurts the least. To just tell yourself you're a high achiever, or that you simply need another goal to feel satisfied. But honestly, that explanation is completely wrong. Okay, let's dive into this, because what's really happening here is absolutely not a lack of ambition.
You see, the way you're feeling isn't some psychological flaw, and it's certainly not a lack of gratitude. It is a concrete diagnosis of your current biological state. You are caught in what's known as the success fatigue trap. This is a profound biological misalignment. Essentially, your brain has completely forgotten how to just graze in the pasture because it's been sprinting away from lions for far too long. You are operating in a prolonged emergency mode, and it is silently, methodically wearing you down. Let's move on to Section 1, the savannah versus the office.
To really wrap our heads around this trap, we've got to look at some absolutely fascinating research from Stanford neurobiologist Robert Sapolsky. He discovered something pretty terrifying about what modern society affectionately calls hustle, that daily grind, that constant drive. It's actually a slow, methodical form of biological self-destruction. Think about it like this. On one hand, you have the literal act of being chased by a hungry lion out on the savannah. On the other hand, you are frantically checking emails during lunch, keeping one highly anxious eye on the clock. To your brain's alarm system, these are the exact same biological emergency. No joke. Your body literally cannot tell the difference between a lethal predator and a slightly passive-aggressive Slack message from your boss. You might think you've just adapted to the pressure, but trust me, adaptation is not the same as resilience.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our problem. When a zebra escapes a lion, its heart rate drops. Within minutes, it goes right back to grazing as if absolutely nothing happened. The danger ends, and its nervous system completely shuts down the alarm. But us humans, we wake up already running. Because our lion is our inbox, our packed calendar, or even our own internal guilt, we never actually return to a state of calm. Your system is operating as if the lion is right behind you, breathing down your neck all day, every day, for years.
Which brings us to Section 2, the cost of cortisol.
Operating with that invisible lion constantly pacing right behind you takes a severe physical toll. And hey, really quick, if this diagnosis is starting to resonate with you and you want to keep exploring the architecture of the self with us, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss our future explainers. Now, let's look at what this simulated panic is actually doing to your biology. Cortisol is a survival hormone, and it is incredibly effective at keeping you alive, but it is meant to save your life in a 15-minute crisis. Just 15 minutes. Instead, thanks to our modern hustle culture, this incredibly powerful chemical is now just steadily dripping into your bloodstream for decades. And this chronic state of stress is causing major long-term erosion in your body.
The consequences here are physical, and they are undeniable. Chronic cortisol literally shrinks your hippocampus. Yeah, that's the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning. So when you feel that heavy success fatigue, you aren't just tired. You are actually inflamed. And your brain is quite literally breaking down from the inside out.
And it doesn't even stop at the brain. To put this all into perspective, this state of constant slow-motion erosion raises your risk of heart disease by up to 40%. 40%! That is huge. This is the harsh biological cost of never letting your system shut down. It's a simulated panic, sure, but it comes with very real, very dangerous physical consequences.
All right, let's get into the solution. In Section 3, the recovery protocol.
So how in the world do we actually fix this? Well, we have to completely pivot away from that old, toxic mindset of just pushing through. To break this cycle, you must intervene at the physiological level. You literally have to speak directly to your nervous system and tell your brain that it is, finally, safe. And the protocol starts right here, with the number 6. 6 slow, diaphragmatic breaths per minute. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I promise you, this is not spiritual fluff. This is a hard, neurological command. Breathing at this exact deliberate pace stimulates your vagus nerve, which acts as a literal physical brake pedal, shifting your entire system out of emergency mode and into recovery. Once you've signaled safety through your breath, you need to start dismantling those daily habits that are triggering the panic in the first place. You need to create islands of calm, stop the total lie of multitasking, and prioritize sleep. And by the way, if you are truly ready to build some real internal ground and master these interventions, I highly recommend checking out the ebooks Beyond the Shadow and Dialogues with the Unconscious. I've linked both of them in the pinned comment below. But for now, let's briefly break down these 3 steps. First up, creating islands of calm. What does that actually look like? Well, it means carving out intentional moments, like a 30-minute meal with absolutely no screens, or taking a walk where you literally have no destination. This goes hand in hand with stopping the lie of multitasking. When you monotask, when you give just one single thing your full, completely undivided attention, your brain consumes significantly less energy and experiences drastically less stress. It's a total game changer. And then, of course, there's sleep, 7 to 9 hours. Look, I want to be incredibly clear about this. Getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep is not just some mere suggestion for when you magically find free time. It is an absolute biological minimum required for cellular repair. Without it, you are just accelerating that internal erosion we talked about earlier.
This brings us to our final part, Section 4, Dismantling the Speed Identity. Even with all these tools, why do we struggle so much to just slow down? Even when we know it's actively killing us? This brings us to the absolute hardest truth of all. You can't slow down because you don't know who you are without the speed. You've built your entire identity around being the person who never stops, the one who always gets it done. So the crucial point is you are completing tasks and checking boxes, but you are no longer inhabiting anything. You've become a ghost in your own life. Because true healing, it doesn't magically start when your workload finally lightens up. It starts when you realize a fundamental truth. Your self-worth is not defined by your output. Peace is a biological requirement, guys. It is not some fancy reward you have to earn after you finally answered enough emails or hit enough arbitrary milestones.
I want you to really sit with this beautifully haunting question. Who are you without the speed? If you looked in the mirror today and recognized yourself in this explainer, if you're just so tired of the simulated panic and the hollow exhaustion, I want you to leave a comment below right now. Just type, "I'm done running." Make it a declaration to yourself that you are ready to stop merely managing your life and absolutely ready to start inhabiting it. Don't look away now. Your biology depends on it.